1. What were you going to say?
You said 1, but it sounded like you just went 1.
1?
1.
1 games. All right.
1, 2, 3.
It's tabletop time. I'm Dave.
I'm Jazza.
I'm Jen.
And you awkwardly tried to say your name before me. We predetermined the order with dice.
I'm sorry.
And again, Rob and I equaled our roles. So I think we're just destined
What are the
to...
chances of that are?
I don't know, but is that 3 in a row now?
I think that's 3 in a row.
I will say, Jen, in 40k
We're on a
terms,
roll.
I'm really proud of you for trying to seize the initiative. That was a really cool thing to do from a gameplay perspective. You always attempt to seize.
Amazing. We pick up on chapter 7. Let's do a little bit of a recap from our player's perspective. Let's go in reverse this time. Let's start off with Brick, who was the thumbnail of chapter 6.
I was.
With a spot of mess on his face.
We encountered some people in a forest that were in a tough situation, so I decided to separate someone's left half from their right half.
I'm sorry. The hidden nugget of trivia here is that the thumbnail.
Oh my
the
God.
first draft of the thumbnail was this character rent in twain. Yeah. And we were like, holy shit, Alicia. And she was like, oh, sorry, is it too much?
It wasn't even like a slight gap. It was like
string
little
cheese
mass in the middle.
in the middle.
It was badass.
It was so good, but it wasn't YouTube friendly, so we did have to wind it
We
back.
should have kept it.
We should have kept it for us.
Yes.
We should have shared that with patrons. Maybe there's a draft. I'll look it up. But anyway, continue, sir.
I mean, yeah, that was it. I separated 2 halves of this man and then finished off 2 others before continuing to the forest to have a sleep next to some feral wolves.
Just
Nice.
Brick doing brick things.
Yeah.
Doing brick things.
Just brick. Hashtag just brick things.
Cutting people in half.
Yeah. Tell us about Catalina's experience.
So we met a girl named Lilith, who is a bit of a wild child from what we can sort of tell. And she seems to be able to communicate with animal beings. So Catalina is a bit onto her and not too sure if she's got maybe some magical abilities. Yeah, and then we're sleeping there for the night and ready for the next day, I believe.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Delvin has been experiencing some interesting changes. Or
Delvin's mostly been experiencing constant rejection, but that's nothing new. Well, other than that, though, I've got this warm, fuzzy feeling in me tummy. I keep trying to focus on my job, and then there's these distracting women around me, and they're just, well, I think it's that. Something like that. Weird feeling I'd never felt before.
cool. You also heard a voice at the beginning of the previous chapter that may eventually be noteworthy.
Oh, yeah, there was a prick who was shouting at me from a window or something. I don't know.
All right, and we pick up the next morning after our adventuring party has rested the night. Now, I'm going to say Catalina has not had a very restful night.
Yes.
She actually rolled a 1 in her sleep, and these are not normal circumstances as sleeping goes, so you were very uncomfortable and quite disturbed in your sleep. And in fact, it was only, a little over 24 hours ago that Catalina experienced a very interesting prophecy, and that sort of kept her awake and was swimming back in her head.
Yep.
So I'm going to give you a negative of some sort, but I'm not quite sure what that is. Let me start off by giving everyone a destiny point refresh.
Yes.
Take that, especially for your amazing role play. And Catalina, I'm going to give you, I'm just going to say you're still tired. You haven't had a proper rest.
Yep.
So let's just, what's a good way to say fatigued? Because I'm thinking like -1 to endurance rolls until you rest properly again, rather than physical dice checks. I think endurance specifically.
Yep.
Okay,
I'm happy
let's
with
do
that.
that.
Cool.
-1 to endurance checks
Yeah.
for the day or until you rest.
You know what could be fun? I don't know, maybe we should have a little bit of behind the scenes play with this. But we could have a kind of exhaustion that's a negative to mental checks initially, not physical.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think if you're fatigued, your
Everything
brain goes
goes
a lot more
numb.
than your physical goes. Like you could still lift something just as heavily if you're if you didn't sleep well, but your
You could
brain
probably
is
walk
fuzzy.
a similar distance.
Yeah.
Maybe perception.
So it'd be
could be
like,
interesting.
yeah, you have,
It'd be a bit lacking.
yeah, then you'd only get like 40 dice for
Yeah.
perception as
You know,
opposed to
I think-
41.
I think if she rolled a 1, I'd probably go for like a more broad mental checks, but let's go perception because you got a 2.
Sure. Yep.
So -1 to perception.
Okay.
So you're just like a bit hazy, a little bit dreary and very weary.
Yep.
Don't worry, I'm very perceptive.
So we have 2 early risers in the group, as far as I understand. So let's role play out.
I have a
choices
question.
for the next morning. Yes, sir. You in the front.
My mystery vocation.
Yeah.
What's the attribute that's buried under?
Intelligence.
Okay.
Speaking of your mystery vocation, in the last chapter, I sort of piloted your mystery vocation. I told you when to roll a dice. Now I want you to pilot your mystery vocation.
Okay.
I want you to choose when to roll the dice or if to roll the dice. I will give you clues here or there, but every now and then you can choose to pick up on them and take and roll or take them or not. But now it's in Delvin's hands to be like, there's something I'm feeling. Do I explore this in these contexts or not?
Out of character, so Delvin's not aware of this. I'm pretty sure that I have like detect magic. That's like, I feel like Delvin has detect magic. And that I don't know more than that. It just feels like the vibe is when I can sort of sense other magical things and roll to see if it's definite, like where it is. So that's, I don't know. I'm assuming that's the angle that I'm going to be rolling in, but we'll see.
Cool. All right. Well, if you play in that direction, we'll see where we end up. In the meantime, the
smells like magic.
golden dawn is approaching. It's not quite morning yet, but it's getting there. Well, early morning. And those of you who are conscious or choose to be will probably notice some rustling about as Lilith is sort of gathering her things and preparing to go out for a bit of a hunt. But it's dim. It's not quite sunrise yet. So who would be awake? Who would be sleeping?
Yep, I'll be up.
So the first lights hit.
Yeah, starting to.
Yeah.
Delvin wakes up.
Okay.
I would say I'd get up and do a kata.
Okay,
Bit of
cool.
training.
I'm going to say, let me roll for this. 10, right in the middle. Medela's still asleep. She's in the comfy spot. She's resting. She's been pretty overwhelmed for a while. She's still a young girl, so got to recover.
Yeah.
And yeah, Brick is doing his kata. Take us through that.
It's flowy and strong. I'm not sure what.
Let's see how strong it is.
Okay.
Take a roll.
Yeah, just a base combat check.
I'd just say, yeah, your combat roll.
Let me go to my character sheet.
How does Brick think about and approach his katas emotionally?
You know, he takes pride in it if it's a job well done, and he'll probably chastise himself a little bit mentally if it's not up to the standard that he believes it should be. Yeah.
And I think you're sort of definitely aware to a degree that there's a little bit of a hunt expected to happen this morning, especially for food, led by Lilith. So it might be might be connected as far as what you're aiming at. So let's see how sharp you're feeling.
What's my challenge?
It's going to be better based on your roll.
Ooh.
4?
5.
You're pretty sharp this morning. You have been sharper, but I'd say you're hitting your flow state. You're feeling on your game, and you're definitely like you start to work up a sweat, feeling quite strong, and the blood is flowing, and you're ready for combat.
Sounds good.
Delvin and Catalina. Lilith turns broadly to the side and sees some of you sort of getting up and moving. Obviously observes the kata. She's never seen anything like it, so she does stand and watch somewhat in awe for a while. And she also saw you split a man in half, and so she keeps her distance, watches like she's reserving, bit of shock, but respect and fear.
Fear is what I'm going for.
Yeah. I think it's almost like a haka in a way. It's like this
Yeah.
a war dance.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I like that.
It impresses her. It definitely has that effect. When that's sort of over, she sort of tends. She assumes that you're coming at this point, given the display and the hunt. She assumes you're not coming on the hunt.
Delvin is he sort of gets out of bed, looks down at Medela, sees sort of toes poking out of blankets because they were sleeping in the same bed. He takes his blankets off and covers them. Like he's kind of not paying attention, covers her feet, and then he nestles what he was using as a pillow just sort of on top of her head a little bit to block the sunlight from her eyes so it doesn't wake her up as early.
Oh.
And then he stands up and turns back to the rest of the group, and then he says, someone's got to watch the camp, eh?
Scream loudly if you'll need us.
Oh, I'm good at that. Don't worry.
Great. Cool. So she heads off with Brick in tow. Brick, I'm assuming you're trusting that these guys have got protecting Medela.
Well, I just said scream loudly if you need us. So go back.
What was Catalina doing?
I'm going to go have a bath.
How long will you be, Cat?
However long as I need.
Okay, but what's that in real time?
Probably about half an hour.
All right, good to know.
Just random question.
Yes.
Is Catalina taking her harp
She
to the bath? Okay,
yes,
just
yes.
wondering, just curious.
Yes.
Well, let's start off with.
Sure.
That sounds weird with Catalina's bath, but no, do you want to like just explain what you're actually doing?
Yeah. So Catalina's going to venture out into where Lilith told her to go.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to probably have a really quick bath just because why not? And then get dressed, and then she's going to start playing her harp.
What does she play to?
She's going to play a song that is reminiscent of the vengeance that she saw Brick take. So it's probably a bit more of a darker sort of ballad
Yeah.
than it would be normally. Kind of just trying to channel that sort of energy and darkness.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's roll for it, shall we?
Cool.
You have 3 dice to roll. How many mana points do you have currently?
I believe I have 0? No, 1.
1 left.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you used a destiny point to hold on to 1.
I think that's correct, yeah.
Good roll. You're fully replenished. And I had mentioned in the last chapter that Delvin has 1 return, that feeling of fullness, which came from a very good night's sleep, we may suspect. Catalina plays a beautiful song that echoes through the forest, but not so far that anyone could hear, which is a freeing feeling because it's been a long time since you've had the freedom to play without concern for being overheard or being truly yourself. You get to do that. It's a treasured moment because they're few and far between, which makes the forest that little bit more beautiful as you return. Let's go on a hunt. Brick and Lilith. Let's start off. I guess I got to start off with a bit of a destiny roll to sort of see what game is like at the moment. Okay, better than average. Now, Lilith is leading the hunt. What's your little smile?
I just know that hunting requires some level of stealth.
Okay. That's a good point.
It is.
I'm going to get you to make an assist check, but I'm going to get you to assist with survival, not stealth. What's your survival?
Wes?
2.
It's the same.
Let's hope it's not shit.
You could destiny, I guess.
Go on, give it a crack.
Ooh,
Wow.
it's bad.
2
No successes.
fails.
How does that play out? As she sort of leads you and signals, and she's delicately, let me just make her roll.
Oof.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So she gets a 5.
A 2.
So okay, so I'm gonna try and do this. So Lilith and her pet wolves are briskly walking through this forest, dodging around trees and bushes under branches, moving this one out of the way slightly so it doesn't make a snap, watching her foot placement so she's not standing on any twigs or dry leaves. It's really quite masterful. Her woodsmanship is incredible. Brick walks dead straight, snaps the branches as he walks past. Yeah, nothing.
She tries to subtly communicate, like at first through like subtlety, like, you know, giving you these eye like flickers and these hand careful gestures. Eventually, she just throws her arms up in the air and says, "We are not going to catch anything with this sound you carry with you, you lumbering." And she catches herself and says, "Have you ever hunted before?"
You You've
think
hunted
about that
fish with your toes.
I don't think it's going to work the same way, to be honest. What does Brick say?
The game I'm used to hunting is a lot slower and probably bigger than what lives in these woods. Or people.
I'm afraid this might not work out. I would appreciate your combative abilities, but, I mean, I've seen 3 game that we could track in the last 10 minutes, and all 3 have darted away from the echoes from a mile away.
Is there some way to draw them to us?
That's not usually how I do it. I can think of a way. She looks thoughtful. She kneels down on the ground and makes this little whistling sound and starts like, there's just some odd sort of sounds, like a few clicks and a little growl even that you could hear. Now you had noticed on the journey so far, in fact, I'm going to get you to make a perception check to see how much you've noticed. Let's say challenge level 3. That was a very good roll.
Oh,
Yes.
spicy.
Finally.
I see all the.
You may not be good at hunting,
Can see all the
but
animals
you are
running
very
away.
adept at observing combatants and hunters. And you pick up sharply. And in fact, that's probably one of the reasons you're not adapting well to the surroundings and the movement, is because you're following and observing Lilith,
Yeah.
who's, as you pointed out, moving adeptly, seems to know the space very intimately and with a familiarity that's just natural to her. But what you're also finding very interesting that a lot of people would not pick up on is the animals around her. The wolves in particular, no, the wolves to a degree, but actually more than anything, the eagle and the mountain lion are moving seemingly based on some of the clicks and sounds that she's making. Even the subtle signals, and sometimes seeming to react to like a pause, and they seem to be moving in a decisive way.
Yeah.
All the time she seems to be letting a breaths out, like she's whispering at nothing. But it also looks very subconscious. You're just you're picking up keenly on all these things that actually most people just wouldn't notice, because it wouldn't look like anything, except that the animals look well trained and they've done this before. But you're seeing a connection here quite clearly. And it's at this point, that kneeling down, that you observe almost a sense of instruction and a plan. And then she does make sort of a clear signal. You've also noticed that there is a hawk sort of above that's sort of been, a falcon, I should say, it's been sort of circling. She stands up. She says, I don't normally do it this way, and I prefer to spare the living where possible, but I have a debt to repay. We will wait. And you wait. You wait for a good 10 minutes. And she's watching clearly in a specific direction. And it seems like off in the distance, there's a deer that moves between the trees and decides to eat from a certain spot, far, like barely in sight. And then it's another 10, 15 minutes later that both of you notice distant, a pack of unrelated wolves, sort of more wild wolves that are approaching on this deer. And that's when she looks at you and sort of gives you the signal to hold, but the time will come.
Yep.
She doesn't have her bow. In fact, she says as much. I don't have my bow. This is normally where it would be easy, but we need to get close. They will turn on us. For some reason, that doesn't worry me as much as it might. But she's got like a machete-looking knife and a dagger, and looks at your bardache and nods and waits.
Cool.
Within a moment, the wolves turn on the deer, pounce on it, and the attack begins. The deer starts to flee, and something, meaning that the deer was caught so off guard and the wolves were so prepared, meant that this scuffle did not last long.
Yeah.
And they have the deer in such a way that adept hunters don't want to let go when they're winning their game. And she leaps off ahead. So do you try and keep up with her? What do you do?
Yeah, no, I'll charge in as well.
Okay, you're attacking. You go head into the fray. 3 wolves that you have the chance to catch off guard. So both of you are going to get to roll a sneak to have a surprise attack.
It's like, okay.
What is your reflex?
1.
You're faster than her. You, at least in your ability to react. So you arrive at a similar sort of time.
Yeah, I just want to charge.
So you're not going for stealthy, but you won't. So she's going for stealthy, and you observe this because this is her declaration.
Yeah.
So you see her like darting around and like jumping on the sides of tree trunks as she moves towards the prey. But you're going to get there a little bit quicker, and you're just
Yeah.
like rugby running down the middle of the forest.
100%. Yeah.
I'm going to say the wolves all have 1 reflex each. So you're going to roll off against the wolves' reflex. There's 2 4s and 1 1, and you get a 2. So one of them is on the neck and not going to let go or completely distracted. 2 of them are circling in and turn to you and notice you. And in the first round of combat, they are going to be fully prepared for your declaration, which is going to be...
I'm going to take the one that is currently latched onto the neck of the deer.
So you're taking the one off guard.
Yeah.
You get a free attack. Yeah. So that'll be your attack, and your swing will be wide enough that it may fell another beast if it's good enough and beats their attack.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Lilith, let me just get her combat roll. Cool. So this is Lilith's roll. Oof, terrible. I guess in the run-in, she's primed and prepared for a very, very specific method that is completely thrown off guard as the quarterback lunges down the middle and you feel the earth thud under his feet. So she's like completely thrown off guard as you get past. And she does get in and get a swing, but we'll see how that plays out. Let's take your roll, sir.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Nice.
That's your roll, 6? Very nice. I'm going to say these two wolves that are on guard, they have a target each. Mm-hmm. 1 for you, 1 for Lilith. The first got 1, and the other, who won't be in range of your swing, got 1.
Also got 1.
Yeah. So the wolf that Lilith leaps on, they basically end up in a grapple, and she rolls on the ground and starts to like hold it by the throat, but it almost has her by the throat. So it is like very close.
Neck and neck.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, your roll of 6 is an insta-kill to a completely otherwise occupied and distracted wolf.
Yeah.
And a success of... I'm going to say, how do we play out the attacks of it?
So,
do we half the roll rounded?
I think if we want to use what I was playing with, it was you can. So the cogent core rules state that you can fight a number of people equal to, I think it's half your roll, basically. So what's your combat roll, Brick?
I got the 6.
No, your total dice.
Then was 9 because I had charging.
So you could fight 4 people simultaneously because you round down.
Yeah.
But then the little thing that I'd been playing with was the idea that you can only take your full roll and inflict damage against one target, but you can fend off the others. But you could opt to target one additional thing, but each time you do, you drop 2 dice. But then your roll can hurt everything you're fighting.
I like that. Let's do that, but we won't be able to apply it in the way that you drop 2 dice because you rolled, but
Yeah.
I will allow you to inflict any non-injuring penalties on the second wolf. But otherwise, you get insta-kill on the first wolf.
Yeah, I'll take a non-injuring penalty.
Okay.
There's just a head latched onto a deer now. The rest of the wolf is on the ground.
Yes. Firmly on the throat.
Yeah. Take the deer too. Just beheads a wolf and a deer in one
I
swing.
mean, if I get a minor victory, I'm assuming it's like a level 1 thing, which would be stagger. You stagger a wolf?
You can stagger. That will be a -2 to their next roll.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's a good choice. All right, the next round of combat. And Lilith and the wolf are, as you say, neck and neck. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Well, you
5.
said they had each other by the throat.
Yeah. Yep. So this is Lilith's roll.
3 successes, a bit better.
Okay. And then the wolf.
2 successes.
So Lilith is having a mighty struggle with the wolf. It seems that. Do you know what I'm going to do at this stage? Churl, the tiger, won't have let her fight alone. So it's at this point that while she reached him first, he was enacting the first course of action, which is stealth and then attack, and that was all thrown off. But then I'm going to give Churl an attack on the same tiger. A little more effective with roll of 3, and I'm going to say it's sort of like, do you know what? With a flanking, doesn't effectively do much more.
Yep.
I'm going to say that both of them, I'm going to say that Churl bites, gets a level
It was level 2 then.
level 2 injury, and meanwhile Lilith has staggered the wolf.
Yeah.
So for the next
It's
round,
negative 4 as roll.
now we have the wolf that you are facing, who gets 2 dice to roll, and you get your full combat roll. Your challenge level is 1.
Bye, Wolfie. Bye, Wolf.
3, 4.
4. Wasn't that great?
3 successes over that.
So you get
It's
to
not bad.
That's a serious injury if
Yeah.
you want it.
at least you started it off with a bang. What do you choose to do, sir?
Kill it.
I was like looking at what I can do. I'm like, I can trip the wolf. Yeah. I can disarm the wolf. How does that work? Just take off its teeth.
I don't think you'd.
Hit
Break
it with
its
the butt of the
paw.
weapon. And
You
smash
can
all
knock its teeth out.
Yeah, fuck yeah, let's do that.
Okay, yeah.
Hit it with the butt of the weapon. Like the
Okay,
staff of
cool.
the
So
weapon.
you've decapitated the wolf on the neck, and sort of side shoved in that first attack, and now. Do you
Yeah.
want to describe your action?
Yeah,
Your
so I'm
point?
thinking after I've taken the initial cut on the other wolf, decapitating it, swinging around and getting back into position to fend off any nearby attackers, and in the process of that, just smashing the haft of my weapon into its mouth.
And you take out more than half of its teeth very effectively. It is gonna. That -2 stagger is now a -2 permanent to its roll as far as its attack goes.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the wolf that Lilith and Churl are fighting is getting they have the upper hand on him for
wolf.
sure.
Yeah.
His roll is unsuccessful. Meanwhile, Lilith moves in and
Good night, Wolf.
slices the throat effectively right in the right place while Churl holds it in place.
Love the idea that Churl like grabs the back of the neck, like I
Yeah.
was doing, like pulls its head up and then she's across the throat.
And they do indeed work very harmoniously. They attack as one. Meanwhile, Brick just attacks everyone.
I would like to then scream at the wolf, like a bestial growl.
the bestial growl at the wolf face to face. The wolf that has no teeth, who attacked you with 2 dice. It's pissed off, but it has. It's in its last leg, in its last ditch effort, seeing its pack be murdered. It throws its full might at you. You have a challenge level 2 in your final combat roll. If it is your final combat roll, we'll see how it works out. What do you choose to do, Brick?
So it's jumped at me?
Yeah.
Can I grab it?
No, I made a mistake here. You should declare first because technically
It's faster.
it's faster. So
Yeah.
I might change what it chooses to do depending on what you want to do. I should have done that the other way around.
I love the idea of grabbing it and throwing it against a tree.
You can that can be your role.
Well, I mean, technically I don't want to kill it, but I already took out all its
Why don't you
teeth.
want to kill it? Aren't you trying to hunt them?
Well, I don't need this much food.
You're just playing with it with it at this point.
Well, I wanted to scare it off.
Well, you've already killed it.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. You can't eat now.
Yeah, you've already killed it.
Yeah.
Mercy
Shake it
would be
once,
to
that's
actually
fine.
kill it. A wolf with no fangs is a dead wolf.
He's a dead wolf. Yeah, I agree. Well, now I feel bad.
You feel bad?
It took this. Yeah, go on. Play it out, man. What you do?
Yeah, fuck. I hit it with the weapon. I hit it with my weapon.
It's so disappointing. You could have made it feel bad about itself before you killed it. Well, you did. You knocked out his teeth. So
Yeah.
all right, go on. Final attack.
2.
It's a stalemate.
Is that 1 or 2?
That's 2.
Okay. I'm going to keep the original Wolf's roll because it was good and it's better drama. You're shocked, I think, by, even though you completely had the upper hand, there's a tenacity and an energy from this wolf. Like, you took everything from it and it is now at you, and it will take, in every part of its being, fight you until one of you dies. And it's meeting you in this round. Now, obviously, you're thrown off. But as the scuffle continues, and you're both sort of wrestling, and this is the large, I'll say it's the larger wolf. Lilith and Shul stand up, and they seem to actually take pause, not out of any sort of maliciousness, but it is more curiosity to see how you fight, I think. They're both observing.
All right.
What do you declare?
I would like to enter close combat.
Okay, you're going to make a combat roll. You have to beat it by at least 1, or you have to get at least a level 1 victory. Which, let's say I'll give you the challenge level first. It's 2. This wolf is pissed.
1, 2, 3.
But you succeed.
I love your strategy of entering close combat and losing half your dice
2 dice.
and your weapon.
And my weapon proficiency. Yeah.
So, like 5 dice?
Now, you did make a non-lethal declaration.
Yeah.
So actually you could have rolled with more dice, I believe. You could have added to your combat roll. But that was a really good roll anyway. So you were fully in close combat, like you were
He's evening
right
the
up
odds.
close to this wolf.
Now can I grab it?
You want to throw it.
I want to hold it down.
Yep. At this point, because you succeeded that check so well, I'm just going to give you a grip check, challenge level 3. Actually, 2. Its roll was 2. So challenge level 2.
2.
3. Yep. You slam it down on the ground. There's that slight wounded dog sound as you push it, and you feel some bones start to brittly express their concern under your grip. What do you choose to do? Now this dog is fully prone. This wolf, sorry. Or innocent little dog that never hurt anyone, depending on how you see it, really. But anyway, go on.
What's Lilith doing?
Still watching.
Just watching?
Yeah.
She hasn't reacted to the fact that I'm holding this dog this wolf in its place.
They seem to be just very interested right now.
I'm just going to keep holding it until she speaks.
What are you waiting for?
Your skill with animals, can it be taught?
What do you speak of?
Well, you have a wild cat that is not attacking anything. Can this wolf be made to be docile?
This wolf has been made to be useless. Unless you want to gum your enemies. I don't see the purpose of having this creature live in torture.
I've never had a pet.
She looks at you disbelievingly like, what is pet?
It's not what the cat and the falcon are to you.
They're my companions. You speak of slaves. You would like a slave, she said to the Phelan call.
Yeah,
Not knowing the implications.
The wolf didn't ask. I feel bad.
No. This is sick. Just
blood.
You're
what does
Brick.
Brick?
Like,
Yeah, play it
Brick
out,
wouldn't
man.
give a crap,
Yeah.
right?
No, it's true.
It's what he knows,
Yeah.
and
He's
it's what
trained
he's
to
observed.
kill.
This is not. This is not outside of the realm
the
of what.
observation of Lilith coordinating with all of those animals,
Yeah.
working cohesively, is kind of
What
like
a way to hunt! Yeah.
Yeah.
How do I get that? Totally get
all
it.
my companions are dead. No one else really knows how to fight.
Raise them from bet cubs and stuff, I guess.
I mean, yeah, that's probably the way.
Getting
to
an
go about
adult wolf is not going to work.
I love the.
The
I
attempt.
love the. Yeah, it's so good.
it. Well, like as I said, I guess.
Great way to explore it. So good.
Yeah.
How do you respond to that?
I'll snap its neck. I don't know what check that would be.
It's prone, which is what, -3 or -2 wins? I forget.
I think in this instance.
You just make. I think in this instance, you snap its neck.
Yeah.
It's got no teeth, and you've got it completely prone. So,
Yeah.
with a clear understanding of when and where you finish the wolf.
Yeah.
Wah, 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 wah.
But she looks at you with a renewed fascination.
Well, she just accused me of wanting to have a slave, which I would think is pretty ironic.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Knowing the implication that I'd have to look after this wolf to give it food because I've just destroyed its way of eating, like, pretty obvious. It's not really a slave. It implies I'm getting some use out of it other than companionship.
You actively chose to do that to it.
Yeah. I needed a way to subdue it, and I was hoping it would, like, run off.
She expresses that the wolves are going to be useful for pelts, suggests that they carry them, but the deer is really the food. And as she helps you to sort of gather these things and use her animal companions to sort of assist, she seems a little distant. She seems a little more concerned about you than before. But she speaks and says, do you solve all your problems with this charging, this brute force? Not that it doesn't have its place, it's just nothing like I've witnessed before.
It was much more imposing when I had my companions, but they are gone now. It is just me.
You had companions?
Yes.
Like mine? And she looks around.
Like me. They were bigger.
Bigger? She sort of looks disbelieving. Were we to have more time, I think there may be things we could learn from each other, but I'm afraid your friends need to continue traveling. However, there is something about it that concerns me. Being truthful scares me. To see that in humanity.
They are not my friends. They are my masters.
Ah. She looks with a little more understanding.
Yeah, she gets the opening up.
Very interesting. She nods and she's paused. At this point, the packing up of the creatures is sort of sat in the background as she stands there and contemplates you for 10 minutes. Whether you choose to do anything is entirely up to you, but she just stands there looking at you and considering. Eventually she says, this strength, fearsome ability you have, I've seen it channeled by some people in terrible ways. You are not terrible, but you could be. This is terrifying.
I am simply what I was made to be.
What have you chosen to be? Have you chosen to be anything?
I have no choices.
This is fun.
She shakes her head. She says, that may be the lesson that I could give you. We all have choices. We're all but animals. Perhaps you are in the wrong habitat, but you have choices. If these are not your friends, they needn't be your companions, let alone your masters. You can choose your companions. However, you should also choose where you use your terrifying power. The effect that a beast can have on its habitat is truly terrible.
I would like to say this with an air of finality to the conversation, almost like taken aback a little bit that she's implied that my masters aren't the ones that oversee, like, my life.
Yeah.
They are my masters.
And then I'm just going to stop talking and put up like a wall.
She gets the message.
Yeah.
And you sense a little bit of disappointment, but that she doesn't care to inflict anyone on what she thinks about anything. It's very clear as she nods and starts packing up the animals. And meanwhile, we return to the camp. Very peaceful little, calm, the embers of the campfire sort of
How
starting
long
to...
was Cat away for?
I said half an hour, so maybe make it like 40 minutes instead.
Okay. So I'm going to make a perception check as you re-enter the camp.
Do you do anything or explore anything while she's gone?
A 3. Is that enough to hear her approaching the camp?
Only if she's rolling stealth. Otherwise, I would say yes.
Okay. As you sort of crest and round into the, because it was in a little hollow, wasn't it? Like a little, yeah.
Yeah.
As you round into it, you see Delvin standing there, almost waiting. Seems to be like waiting for you. He's just pink and beaded with sweat. Like his face is just pink, and he's holding his big, like fluffy, oversized jacket in front of him. And you can see his bare arms, like he's not wearing, he's got his trousers on, but he's taken his jacket off. And he just looks kind of awkward and shifty as you arrive.
Delvin, are you ill?
Well, have you ever had a sleep so good that you go and have another one?
I suppose.
He fell asleep right next to the fire. I need to go. Where's that river?
Do you need to make a deception check right about now? Is that what's happening?
Maybe. Let's not talk about that.
I think maybe let's just roll some inconsequential random dice for no reason or a deception check. Maybe.
Okay, fine. Be that way. You bully.
Has Medela woken up at this point? Is she still?
She's starting to stay. Yeah, she's at this point she's sort of playfully looking around, and really curious but cautious.
Oh no, 3 successes.
All right, you have a challenge level 3 for a perception check,
But -1.
Yeah.
but -1. Good remembering.
Nope, that's what I want. Yeah, okay.
2.
Yeah. You know fully believe that Delvin just woke
Literally.
up naked and incredibly
Naked,
sweaty
wearing
from
pants.
a second sleep.
I'm wearing pants. I've taken off my padded jerkin because it's too hot.
But he looks like, you know, sometimes you wake up from a sleep sweaty.
Yeah, really gross.
Yeah.
Sure.
He just had that.
Yeah.
So he looks. Yeah.
So I'll turn to the side and be like, oh, yeah, it's just take a left.
Cool.
Go past this tree. Yeah.
And as Delvin, thank you, Kat. I'll be heading off now. You look after the kid. As I walk off to the camp, he very clearly does that thing where like he stays facing Catalina the whole time and like hugging his jacket to himself. Clearly very self-conscious of his body because he's not wearing a shirt, and then like backs out of the clearing and then heads off.
Oh,
Right, okay, well. Medela, you're awake.
yes. Where have you been? Where is Brick?
Oh, Brick is out hunting with Lilith. I don't think they'll be too far away. I took a lovely bath, but I don't recommend that you take one now.
No, she giggles. And then she looks around. She's like, this place looks so different during the day. It's like an alcove. I've never seen so much green in my life.
Is this your first time in a jungle?
I have seen some oases, forests, but not like this. And she looks above, and there's a canopy, and you see in daylight there's some jasmine and blossoming flowers. And now that the sun has risen, it is a beautiful home sorry, the name escapes me. Lilith has made, and you can tell that it's indoors, outdoors. It's a beautiful shelter.
I turn to Medela and I say that it is truly beautiful. I'm a little fearful though. I mean, with everything going on, how safe is she here?
I don't know. I never would have guessed someone would live in a place like this. Are there more? Is this a thing that you Easterners do?
Not that I'm aware of. She's the first I've ever encountered on my travels.
What do you think? She looks ready to consider your opinion.
She's strong, and she has her companions. I think that she'll be okay, but I am concerned.
Do you find yourself concerned after people often?
I am fearful for those that maybe don't have someone around to protect them, like their parents or anyone really. I can't help but feel a little bit vulnerable.
Maybe she needs a brick.
Maybe she does. That is a good idea, Medela.
She looks like she's remembering how much she misses her parents right now. And she
Aw,
goes a little
Damien.
bit quiet. What have you done? Yeah, no, but she sits by the fire that's now sort of starting to really feel stoked and warm. You sort of keep her company. And
It
after-
looks like it was over-stoked by someone who didn't really know what they were doing and just put too much wood on it.
Yeah, and eventually it starts breathing.
This is a beautiful fire that someone's made.
Yeah, you probably got like another 10 minutes before anyone arrives. So if you wanted to look around or whatever, you're welcome to. But otherwise,
I'm happy to keep going.
we have, you hear some thuds through the forest. You're like, almost comically, like you look over and past this sort of edge of where the canopy is least solid to connect into a wool-ish area of this domain. You see the trees starting to wave a little bit in the distance.
Oh, I believe our companions will be returning.
And in walks Brick and Lilith, accompanied by a few of her friends, but then carrying on them 2.5 wolves and a deer. And Lilith sort of nods, acknowledging everyone, but immediately grabs the deer, goes in, and she sets to work. And she has done this 1,000 times. And in almost like it's an art process, she goes into a flow state and just pulls apart these creatures. There's almost a respectful air about it, but a really direct way that it's done. Until after a not significant portion of time, there are 3 beautifully removed wolf pelts. The parts really sort of gather together, ready to be sort of put to use. And the deer, as she washes her hands between these different things, and she has some different herbs that she sort of rubs between the different steps as she moves to a food preparation stage. But she's hung the wolf pelts over a different fire. She's started to get things moving, but she's not going to use that for food, to dry out these wolf pelts. And she's just in it and working to... she seems like she's on a bit of a mission. Okay. She's got all this stuff to create value out of, and I think she seems like she's wanting to make it up to you guys. So that's what she's doing.
I'm not going to bother her. I'm going to let her do a thing. Yeah. And I turn to Brick and say, there's no chance that you guys got any vegetables, fruit, bread, anything that's not meat?
I'm afraid there was no bread in the forest.
And like Catalina's gut kind of like drops because she knows she doesn't eat meat. So
About this point, Kat will turn around because it's been like 25 minutes or 20 minutes or so since I left. Delvin's standing there, clothed again, thankfully, with a towel wrapped around his head. He's got like the full ball, like with his hair. And he says, oh, there's plenty of meat on, right? And he nods towards the venison. You can have some of my bread rations.
Lilith does sort of mention over her shoulder, broken from her rhythm, sort of says, I do have some things if meat is not for your appetite. I will get to that briefly.
That
And
would
she
be wonderful.
continues, yeah.
Thank you. I also want to go look over all the carcasses that they've
Yep.
made. And I say to the one that has no teeth, and what happened to this one?
Robin is perfect lines.
And
Yeah,
looks,
I know.
looks like Looks like Brick got its tongue and it got Brick's tongue.
I was gonna make a joke about fetch with a too big a stick.
But you didn't, so you just stood there awkwardly and silently.
When facing many opponents, it is best to disable or disarm as many as possible while you're fighting. And this was the easiest way.
Okay, then. I am no warrior, so I'm just going to assume that this is normal.
Cool. You guys have a few hours to kill as breakfast gets cooked up and the pelts dry out. Again, Lilith is just in a flow state and it's kind of magical. It's a bit enchanting. So you could just sort of stand there and watch the whole time because this is an artisan who's done this their whole life and very good at it. But you can see everything in the broad light of day and it is actually a pretty beautiful place. You notice that the sort of hut that is built out of skins and at the mouth of this small cave is adorned with interesting little trinkets, like collections of things she'd gathered of all looking at sort of cultural denominations. Like you can see some religious items from denoting IRONSPIRE and the utmost loyal, and you can see some watcher tokens, and you see some interesting like small animal like almost like, I wouldn't say, what's the thing where you dry out an animal and you
Taxidermy?
taxidermy? Not quite that, but verge, and it wouldn't have been made by her, but very foreign looking things that have been preserved, like a peacock tail and just very interesting things that are like the collection of an outside world that maybe she's interested in, but doing on the wall, and even some weapons. It's really odd and interesting looking things. So if that's something anyone wants to investigate, you're welcome to, but otherwise the animals start to sort of sleep around a little bit, and Churl seems to have taken a liking to Mandela, who is sort of patting it by the fire and it's purring.
Can I appraise to see if there's anything of particular value in the markets, like that because if she's wide traveled and has taken things, is there any oddities of any kind of?
Absolutely. You can make a roll with your vocation on trade. I'm going to say challenge level 3. It's specialized.
Oh, only 2. My head's a bit steamy. I just look over it, kind of discount it as the collections of some kind of weird wilderness person, and don't pay. I'm like, yeah, it's probably crap because she's like a jungle person. So
yeah,
being a little bit
on an
prejudiced,
intellectual level, you can not make much sense of the value of it.
Yeah, it just seems like jungle knickknacks. And this is not the common kind of person. This isn't like a culture. This is like to Delvin in Graded Lands. This is more like a crazy person living in the forest, because it's not like there's a jungle people that make their homes there, right?
Yeah.
So this is very weird that someone would be living in this circumstance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, it's just like, okay, this lady's kind of crazy and lives out in the forest.
It would be very dismissible
Yes.
intellectually, were it not for something that catches the corner of your deeper attention and flits away.
Okay.
That might benefit from some sort of mysterious role if it were to be taken.
Oh, does it pull me in that way?
Maybe. Something might have. You don't know.
So I don't get any sense
That's
of...
what you get.
Okay. Do I want to sniff that bad boy?
Down the road.
I'm going to walk over to that item in particular.
You don't notice it.
Oh, I just had maybe a waft
You like
of
turn
something.
away and you go like a half a catch of breath in the back of your mind, and that's it. But it felt familiar.
I glance back. Do I see any women?
No, there are no women in this pile of odd trinkets and
Delvin
dead
scratches
things.
his head. Currently, I'm going to say I'm not going to pursue. My association, I haven't narrowed it down enough. So I'm kind of like, I'm still kind of half thinking that this is some kind of weird attraction I've been having lately. Like second puberty.
Yeah. Like, hang on. Do I feel like this about dead things on the wall?
Yeah, it's like... Was there like, I think for a moment, like maybe there's like a fertility totem or something, like a little carved statue. I'm like, no. Just, I'm done. I don't care.
All right.
I walk away.
You walk away and breakfast is served. You guys tuck into a bit of a feast. It seems that quite a lot of the meat, and there was a lot of meat, has been being preserved and put to the side. It will take some time to dry out, and she apologises for this, but seems to be able to put together enough that you can take for your journey. If you want to come back and take someone that's properly prepared, you're welcome to, but something tells me your journey will continue. So, and she presents like an array of different things that she's gathered and prepared that will last you, for a few days, and seem really well put together. And as you eat breakfast, something a little more fresh and less concerned about how long it's going to last. Though not prepared by someone with a culinary mindset, she has the advantage of being surrounded by some of the freshest ingredients you could possibly imagine. And everyone roll a perception check. Challenge level 3.
3.
Crushed it.
3 for Delvin. 3 for Brick.
As did you, Brick. I'm ready.
3. Even for the bleary-eyed Catalina. So all of you notice it's subtle. She obviously isn't used to being observed, but she doesn't know that you're watching her in this way while she was preparing. But through the course of the hours that preceded your breakfast, you would notice here or there, every 15, 20 minutes, one of the animals would come up with something, like a little thing of herbs, or a bird actually came in at one point with like a sprig of something that it had picked. Almost looked like if you weren't observing, it might have been carrying something to a nest or whatever. It's just general activity that seems like just nature being nature, but it seemed like there was a little more to it. They were a few of them were slightly assisting, and they were the ones who were more around. They're sort of her friends. This isn't something she was trying to conceal, but it's also not something she's conscious of or aware of as being any different. She's just cooking, and every now and then one of her friends seemed to bring something along to help. And that's it. But as a result, you actually, have some ingredients that have been sourced to balance, like to bring things together in a really nice way. Just a little bit of basil and a little bit of, honey and meat. And there are vegetables that she'd gathered from outside, some different things. So she put together a thing. She looks at you oddly, and actually says upon serving, "Here is your food without the food." she catches us up, and I'm like, "No meat. How do you survive and not waste away?"
Sustenance can be found in various things.
Such as?
Pretty much everything you've put into this bowl for me.
I don't know how long that would last me.
Well, I must say that you are incredibly strong and agile, so maybe there is something to it.
I was going to say that Catalina here, most of the work she does involves talking, so I can't imagine she needs as much fuel as you do.
That is fair. She's slightly concealed a blush at your last comment, but otherwise is graciously hands you all these like wooden bark plates of food, and you have actually a really good breakfast, one of the better ones you've had in a while, especially because it's just so different to what you would expect, and just the flavor is vibrant and fresh. The meat, for those of you who eat it, is really well cooked and juicy and tender.
I eat a lot of it.
Incredible, yeah. And there is a lot of it.
A lot of it.
Wet meat, woo.
The wet meat.
Well, as I said, you said it's really well cooked. I'm going to assume that
some of it
really
is
well done.
Yeah, well, it's to your liking. She's being a host. She's not. It's clear that she lacks any confidence being a host, but she's really trying hard. It's really clear from her behavior, especially by her closeness that you've observed with Cheryl, that you've, in no uncertain terms, saved her life, saved the life of her friends. So she is trying to pay a debt, and trying to do that as fully as possible. But you enjoy a scrumptious breakfast and are loaded up with a whole bunch of stuff.
How are you going to get away from the next lot that come after you?
That's never been a problem.
It's a problem now.
I suppose I could move deeper into the forest.
I don't know how well you keep abreast of affairs, but what some might call magic, the king's hungry for it. And he found out he can take it.
Magic.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you're doing it, whether you know it or not, though.
She has literally no idea what you're talking about.
You're
like speaking riddles
that's
to
all right.
her.
I'm just like people who can affect the world in ways that others can't. People who can have deep friendships with animals that others can't. That kind of thing. They're hunting them. Just be careful, that's all.
Always will be. Likewise, but I mean, it seems you are all, especially with.
We've got a brick.
She
That's fine.
nods over at Brick. She's just like, I've seen him attack, let alone protect. So
Now, Brick, you've had wet meat in a stew. What do you think of soft meat? And I motion to like a medium rare piece of steak that's beautifully seasoned.
It still appears to be bleeding.
I didn't ask what you thought of the looks, I guess. What do you think of the taste?
I'm just going to say that if my food came to me still bleeding, I'd put it back on the fire.
yeah,
Yeah. Like, if it had happened, like, if it at all in the meal.
eventually when it's cooked to your liking,
Yeah.
it still tastes like it's seasoned a little bit and not over salted.
Yeah.
What's Brick's take on that?
It is very well cooked. I'm just worried how it may react inside.
I've never thought about that, Brick. I haven't paid much attention to your dietary after effect, but I'd imagine with your usual diet, it's basically like shooting out a cannonball once a week, eh?
Great. Poo talk at the campfire dinner
Delvin
table.
is a bit of a like I think we've learned by now. Delvin's a little bit rough around the edges in that way. He's a bit cheeky.
What is a cannonball?
Oh no.
I won't go into it.
Anachronism.
I'm assuming cannonballs exist.
I wouldn't think
Oh
so.
no.
Cannons, ships.
No, I don't think they would. No.
Cool. Then I'll say I replace that with a sport ball.
Sport.
No, like your sport. What the?
Let's move on from the poo metaphors.
You get it.
Yes, you make a really well
It's
chosen
beautiful metaphor.
Yeah.
Appropriate for the time.
I look over to Medela and roll my
Well done.
eyes.
Yeah, she like giggles. Eventually, you all finish up on your breakfast, and
Cool.
she Lilith walks up to you and holds up 3 wolf pelts, pretty well dried out at this point. I recommend you lie these out upside down in the sun for a full day, but they should well and truly.
So she's traded them and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
different herbs and things that could act as like disinfectants, essentially. They need a little more time, but they will be close to what it takes to buy a new bow. And she sort of sheepishly like, there is someone I know in town who might collect it for me. She sort of describes this person in town and sort of asks if you would be willing to acquire one that he could bring.
That's easy. No worries.
Thank you. I hope my humble abode has served you well. Thank you again for your protection and help.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself.
Likewise. Let me show you to the edge of the forest.
Cool.
She helps you all pack up on your journey and you start to head out. What's the time of day? I'm going to say it's about 1 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a late breakfast. You'll pack up and head out. As you're journeying along, there's a little rumble that you feel that goes away briefly. But moments later, about half a minute later, the earth underneath you starts to shake. In a way none of you have ever really experienced before. It's not hugely intense, but you've heard stories about something called an earthquake before, so you know what it is, and you're assuming that that's what it is, but you're experiencing a medium to lowish earthquake for 20 seconds. As you can sort of see the clearing of the edge of the forest ahead, so you've been traveling for a few hours, but you feel the earth rumble, and
I look at Brick and I say, "Oh my, that meat really did react with you." And then just crack a massive smile.
I would have taken a balanced combat stance to try and keep my feet.
Yeah.
The second it started.
yeah, I wouldn't say anyone needs to make a check to see if they're standing, but Brick is definitely the most stable through that period of time. I'm assuming like holding Medela or something. Yeah. I'm just going to make a destiny roll to see if anything in terms of the trees or canopy. 3. Okay. Ooh. There is. Everyone make a perception check. Challenge level 2.
Oh yeah. I see into the 4th dimension with 5 successes.
1, 2, 3, 5.
As does Jen. I see nothing.
You're too busy looking at Medela.
1 success.
Okay. There is a tree that falls ahead of you. That everyone but Brick notices is falling towards the group. And Brick is focused on Medela and holding his stance. So there's plenty of time as it starts to creak and tip to move out of the way. But Brick is just like doing his things. Do you guys want to just like,
Yeah, I grab him around the arm
and I yell at him.
Pull him to one side and say, "Get out of the way!"
I get out of the way.
Cool.
dragged along behind, and then a large tree, like very tall forest canopy, like tree sort of falls and lands close to where you guys were. Wouldn't have exactly hit you, but if you hadn't moved, you might have gotten scuffled. But as you travel, it transpires as you reach the edge of the forest in another 15 minutes journeying that there was a bridge that was apparently not very stable in the first place. That Lilith sort of looks a little confused and sort of turns to you and says, that one's usually, well, it's usually more constructed than it looks right now. She's looking at this. It's a bit of a rope bridge. It looked like it might have been quite stable but old. And the river at this stage is a bit bigger. So it's going to be a little harder to navigate across. Otherwise, you'll be journeying on the rougher side of the river up along as you approach I&I. So what do you guys want to do?
How big's the crossing? Like how wide?
Look, I'm going to say it's a good 4 meters with fairly moving waters. It's not going to be easy to cross, but it's not going to be impossible. But it might risk some of your equipment unless you can think of a better way to cross the river, or you'll have to journey on the less comfortable side of it.
Is it is the rope bridge still connected, or is it completely collapsed?
It's split in the middle. So there's rope and
rope is connected still?
Split in the middle. Whatever was holding it together across the middle of the bridge has collapsed, and so there are 2 sides of the bridge that have fallen and sort of slumped on.
So there's no still connected cables.
Yeah. And it looked like there might have been sort of like some stakes. There might even be 2 half stakes sort of in the middle of the river that are sort of tilted that were helping support the middle of the bridge. But it wasn't constructed by an engineer or for the long term. So it might have been built 50 years ago. Now it's never been put to that test before. So it just it's used to having people move on it and across to a not heavy, but not shaky. So it just sort of fell apart.
What's the play? We crossing or not? Can we get to the town without crossing the water?
At this, Lilith sort of looks a little unconfident. It's been many years since I've traveled to the town, and usually I've crossed the bridge, so I can't tell you, but I'm afraid this is where I cease to be helpful to you.
How deep's the water around here? You've been in it before.
I tend to avoid. She whistles, and above this bird that's been circling, she pauses for a moment, looking up. I'm just going to roll a destiny roll. Yes, there is a way to reach the town if you travel on this side of the river. It will take longer and be harder. I think after a few hours' journey, you might hit some trouble.
How fast is the water flowing?
It's spring, so it's moving. It'll be a challenge to cross if you're not athletic and prepared and perhaps tied up. What are you thinking?
No, not thinking anything. This is just going to be tough.
Yeah.
How tall is Brick compared to us?
He's 7.5 foot.
7 foot.
Seven and a half foot.
7 foot.
7.5 foot with platform shoes.
I got my hair spiked up.
Yeah.
All
you-
one of it. Just
you-
one hair strand.
Carry Medela. Brick, do you think you could put Medela on your shoulders if we were to cross?
If that is what she wishes, yes.
Oh, I don't know. The water might be deeper than Brick can stand.
I grab a stick. Throw it. Yeah, I'm going to throw it.
Okay, you're spearing the water.
And just to see if it one is going to land straight, which is a fluke, and then two, to see if how deep down.
Make a throw check.
Great.
Yeah, challenge to see the depth of the water with a javelin throw of the straightest stick you can find.
Yep, let's do it.
Challenge level 3 to find the stick, and then I'll make the challenge level of the throw based on the stick you find.
Okay, so perception first.
Yeah, perception.
Oh, hold on. Okay.
Your burning eyes look around the forest floor. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so this is the find stick.
You
Three.
do. Oh, you do. Okay, you fish out a straight enough looking stick that's tall enough and
looks
straight
pointy.
enough to throw like that. Now it's challenge level 3 to throw.
Jeez Louise. You are the throw
Boy,
queen.
okay,
5 successes.
All right. So like out of nowhere,
fuck is your
Catalina
throw?
just like breaks from conversation and just looks around with tired eyes and just finds a fairly straight, tall, like 2
Javelin's a
meter
local
long
sport.
javelin-ish stick, walks up to the water's edge, and in a fairly high arched throw, this stick falls down and for a few seconds lands upright in the water before it gets carried away. But it seems like the water is, I'm going to say, 1.5 meters, meter 75. So it'll be up
peasy.
to you. It'll be up or above your head level.
I've got a plan then. Brick, that water level and your bulk shouldn't bother you too much. You should just be able to walk out into it, right? Only come up to your chest.
Have you stood in a river that's chest height, that's flowing with winter? With like it's spring. The mountains are
It's
thawing.
like- that would be
you
a
said it
lot
was
of
moving,
force.
but not like.
It's
like
not rapid,
yeah.
but even like medium to gentle
That
moving
much
water.
I'm not Brick, so he's huge.
A 4 meter wide river that's 1.5 meters to 2 meters deep, moving at a consistent speed, is going to be too strong to stand against.
Okay.
The tree that fell before, how big was that tree?
That ain't going to happen. It was like 10 meters tall
Dang it.
or something.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like one of those like red oak things, like one of those, what do they call them?
Anyone?
It's too big.
Yeah.
Anyone good at swimming?
I sheepishly shake my head.
Lilith looks completely out of her depth. Starts to like take a step back, just like,
I'm like, by Barrowan standards, I can swim, but that ain't good standards.
I think it'd be best if we walk along the bad shore of the river until we find another crossing where it may be shallower or a bridge.
What kind of danger are you talking about? I say to Lilith.
I didn't say danger. I said trouble or challenge.
What kind of challenge?
Well, the river's a challenge.
Aye, but that's a challenge we're not very good at dealing with.
Shouldn't be that much of a challenge.
Is it water or is it rock or is it tree?
She just sort of like hints at the side of the forest where it's like very scrubbish and like
Okay.
she just indicates that, you know, it's just going to be a uneven. It's not a paved road.
I'll be a barrow true to my heart and say I'll take any hardship of the land over that of, and I gesture to the rushing water.
Yeah. All right. So you're going to travel on the uncomfortable side of the river.
Yep.
Let's everyone make a survival check as you journey forth.
What's the challenge level?
Challenge level 3 at the moment.
Oofed. I'm not gonna roll.
You're not going to roll? What's your survival?
2.
Oh,
Mine's
no.
2-2.
Oh, no.
Delvin gets one success.
Oh, no.
I'm literally only good at combat.
Okay.
That's a you problem.
Roll survival. I
Yeah, you've
stand
been asked to
I stand by the challenge.
One.
So you have 2 negatives on yours. You have 2 on yours.
I had
Go
twice
on.
as many dice. They didn't get me anyway.
And you have failed. You have miserably failed. I'm going to put that one to your tiredness. I'm just going to say that it has impacted your ability. But through many hours of traveling, this is rough. There are parts where there are sort of like slippery bits that are embankments, and there are some jagged rocks mixed with a lot of brambles, sometimes so thick you have like, you know, Brick is hacking away with his axe but is also getting caught with the brambles, so it's hard. The river's also getting a little wider, so it's not going to get easier to cross anytime soon. Both Brick and Delvin I'm going to give a level 1 injury to.
Oof.
Catalina, I'm going to give 2 level 1 injuries to. This basically meaning you're covered in cuts and scrapes all on your lower legs. And I'm going to say at one point, Catalina slipped through one of these like muddy patches trying to get across this part, right into a part of brambles and a sharp rock that sort of hit your side. So you're probably like, you're winded and
Oh, great.
cut in a few different places. Everyone is like now covered in mud. That washing from this morning, bit useless because you're all like, you know.
Gross.
But Medela, I'm assuming, is fully protected through.
She takes precedence.
Yeah, she's being carried. So the reason I'm going to say Brick probably would be able to be reasonably unscathed were it not for the fact that his whole intention is on protecting Medela.
Yeah.
Now I know why they built the bridge.
You have obviously parted ways with Lilith, who sort of bids you farewell and further describes to Delvin the person she trusted to sort of help her with the trade, and said farewell to you. But many hours have passed and the sun is starting to get low and you don't know how close to town you are. But you do see, as the later afternoon starts descending upon you, along the road, a horse galloping from the direction of the town that you had left, far up the road. Obviously that town is, you know, well and truly out of eyesight, but you know that's where they're coming from. Everyone make a perception check. Challenge. I'll give you something based on what you get, but I have a pretty good idea as to what it'll be based on the rolls.
Injuries, is it physical checks? Or is it all checks?
It's all physical based dice checks, so it's not perception. It's
perception.
a normal perception roll.
What level was the injury, sorry?
How do
Level
we define
1
a
injury?
physical based dice check?
So combat or throw or grip.
Strength.
Strength.
But then acrobatics is
Acrobatics
physical.
would be physical based. So things that involve your body and coordination.
That's something we should clarify.
Yeah, I agree.
I have one more dice.
Yay, 3.
3.
Cool.
Yeah.
4, 5. 5 for Catalina, 3 for Delvin, and 4, 5 for Brick. So Brick and Catalina both quite keenly aware. Delvin more peripherally, but still able to pick up that there is a rider, a messenger, a Graydon messenger coming from that direction. Catalina and Brick recognize this messenger as Beckett, the handsome sleazebag from a few nights earlier.
Oh, goody.
But you recognise him, and you catch enough of a glimpse of his face to see panic. And he races past, completely like misses seeing you guys. Obviously,
Right,
focused
heading in
on
which
his
direction?
destiny, towards Iron Eye.
Okay.
That's all you see. You know who it was. You both sense he's panicked, and you notice him racing. Catalina, you have seen messengers run messaging pace before. This is a little faster than messaging pace, so he's not quite concerned about the longevity of the horse. He looks consistent with the speed of the message being of utmost importance. So that's everything you pick up.
Well, at least we know which way to go now.
Looks like something fun's been happening back up there.
Continue to journey. I'm going to give you a survival check. I'll say that was the difficult part that you hit because you're pretty sore and sorry for it, but now it's going to be a survival challenge level 2.
Is that a physical check?
Oh. Yes.
Does that mean I can use my strength as a base for it?
No. All right, I won't give you the minus. It's just survival. It's more about, let's say in this case, it's about foot placement. It's about, making the right choices in your traversal. So you get a level 1
success.
loss.
I have twice as many
success
dice.
for
There's no
Brick.
reason to have twice as many dice.
What was the check, sorry?
Brick and Delvin get 1. It's challenge level 2, survival. And 1. So you all get 1. You all fail by 1. Rather than an injury, I'm going to say in this case, you've been traveling so long and hard that the effect of this is you're all utterly exhausted. So now, Catalina, you're going to have... I'm going to give you all a -1 on your on all dice checks. That is based on your exhaustion. It's not an injury, but that means you have a -2 on physical-based dice checks and -1 to every other check. But though the last flickers of light of the day are fading, you do see far off in the distance the horizon of Iron Eye. It's about an hour to get there. You'll be traveling in the dark, but there's one among you who's probably not too concerned about that. And the forest is starting to depart from the river side that you're on, and you're probably fairly confident there's ways to cross that river closer to the city. So, Rick leading the group, I'm assuming.
If you would like to continue, I can lead the way.
It looks pretty smooth sailing.
Starting to, it's not going to take much from you except that I'm going to roll a destiny dice right now. Yeah, pretty well smooth sailing. You got a 16, so yeah, it's all good.
I ain't sleeping here.
I will endure.
Very well. Follow my lead.
There's a tavern an hour away, and you think I'm going to stop.
A renewed
I've had
surge of
worse.
energy and vigor.
I've had worse pub crawls. I say, looking at my cuts and on my hands and stuff.
You reach a much closer distance to the town. At this point, you're traveling in the dark, and it's quite dark. The moon is not full at this stage as well. So Brick is in the lead, and you're all fairly blind and sort of probably using the sense of touch to hold a sense of place and awareness as Brick leads you forward. But the ground is much flatter. The river is much wider. It's about a good 5 meters wide at this point. But yeah, ahead you reach, there's a multitude of some much more well-constructed bridges and some farmsteads, and you're on the outskirts of a much more established town, verging on city, walled around with as you approach it, a brick wall. Catalina has been to Iron Eye. But Delvin and Brick have not, at least any time recently. Delvin's trade has been much more concerned between the Burrows and the Felmore trade. Iron Eye is fairly imposing, and it looks like it's blocking out from the outside. It's walled primarily in 2 directions, north and west, facing along the directions of the rivers and built over where the fork of the river is split. There's quite a lot of houses outside of the walls. It seems like it's populated enough that it's overflown a little bit, and there's some inns and stuff that you can probably go into on the outskirts of town. As you approach it, you're sort of becoming aware that, okay, you're sort of entering town now. But the wall is looking pretty high. I'm going to say it's like a good 5 or 6 meters high, built of stone with some iron, almost like construction framing around these walls with some spikes at the top. And you're starting to come across people and some guards and a little more activity. Some of whom give you a little bit of side eye. Like, you are all, by the way, covered in filth and grass and like twigs and brambles in your hair. You do not look like well looked after travelers, and you are freaking exhausted. What would you like to do?
Approach the first person I see.
Is an old man sort of scraping along the front of his his garden patch.
Evening, mate.
He looks at you like, what have you been doing?
Wandering through a bloody forest. We got off the path accidentally.
Seems like a terrible idea.
It was bloody stupid. Now, where's the best tavern in town?
Best tavern in town, eh? Oof.
He
He looks at you up and down. Is like, you really mean the best tavern in town?
I need a bed and a bath.
Not sure if a bed and a bath needs you, mate. He's like,
not even
I
me.
don't know if the best tavern in town is going to be in your budget.
Well, that's for them to.
I could tell you the tavern I'd recommend.
Why do you have shares in it or something?
No, they just make the best lager you'll ever find.
What are the beds like?
He looks confused. It's like, they're beds. What do you want? Who are you? You came from the mud.
I'm very tired. I'm very exhausted, and I'm used to a very different lifestyle than this.
I'm going to get you to roll a persuasion check.
Yeah.
He's skeptical of you. You look like an outsider covered in mud with very strange companions he can't quite see in the torchlight, as the town is sort of a little more lit, but still you're on the outskirts.
That's fair.
Okay.
5 successes.
You're at this-
wait, I had 1 less dice, so let's just call it 4 successes.
Okay, sure. 4 successes. 3. So you successfully, in earnest, you sort of pick up on his mannerisms and sort of like coach him into being a little, letting down his guard a little bit, and eventually goes, all right. The sheepskin inn, that's the one I like. That's got really, really good lager. Good safe place from the missus, if you know what I mean. But look, if you're looking for fancy, you're going to want to go in the center of town. They're a little pickier about their company in there. At least the people who attend there might second guess your welcomeness. He looks around at your companions and sort of leans in and says, now, I don't think there's a problem you being Barrowan, to be honest, but what's that? He sort of says, like, nodding at Brick.
That's my way of ending arguments.
Or picking them,
Aye.
depending on the inn you go to.
Sure, but they always end in my favour.
If you're looking for a stupid fancy bed for a far too high price and unwelcoming people for your company, head to the Golden Oak. If you're looking for a good ale and people with a little more of a relaxed attitude, go to the Sheepskin.
Destiny roll for Delvin. 14.
We're going to the golden.
No, that's a good result for the party. High is good. So that's Delvin kind of goes, all right, if it's good, like he said it's good. He hasn't said it's a crummy tavern. He said it's good. My weakness is the quirk of wealth. I always want the best, but I think that there's a spectrum in life and you're willing to accept good, but I wouldn't be willing to accept like a crappy tavern.
Sure.
I'll go to a nice place if it avoids trouble for everyone. I'm not... Because I rolled well. If I'd rolled poorly, I would have gone.
Yeah, I have an idea of like the grade of the inn, but I'm just going to make a destiny roll to sort of see, how much they could cater to some of your wants. Yeah. Okay. So you arrive eventually after a bit. You've been directed to the journey to go. You pass a couple of grey guards. This is an established place. This is just the norm, but you're starting to get a few people just sort of look at the group and whisper a little bit. A couple, you might interpret their glances as like knowing. Like they turn to the person next to them, like, "Is that the? Yeah, I think it is. That's so." Almost like your reputation might have preceded you to this town a little bit. Who knows? But you arrive to the Sheepskin Inn. It's a shambly little place. It's bigger than the inn you last stayed at, but a little older, a little more quirky, a little like a melting gingerbread house. So the sides are a little leaning and things like that. But
Better bloody have cottage charm.
It's got cottage.
Oh, thank you. Otherwise, I was going to have to walk out.
It's got some lovely, some herbs growing around out the outside
Okay.
that it's clear that they use in their cooking. It's got some merry people around the outside and a couple of sad people around the outside enjoying the inn, as many people enjoy their inns. And you walk in and it's not as lively or as rambunctious as the evening you previously experienced, which was a real event, a real moment in that town. This is just a night in the life. Some of the people are out and about, some are not. And this seems like, a fairly standard inn. And you walk in covered head to toe in mud and brambles. And the room quiets a little bit.
I take my shoes off at the door. Unless the floor is commonly traipsed mud through it, then I'll traipse
No,
mud. Yeah.
You take your
my
shoes
shoes off. Yeah.
Man walks up and says, "Travellers, I suppose. You're not from around here."
Oh, we took the stupid path here by the looks.
"I've seen that before." "That bridge. I've heard they've had trouble with it or been doubtful about it."
Yeah, whatever made the land shake before took it. It's gone
My,
now.
you felt... I can't believe...
Catalina
wonder how-
starts groaning. She's visibly in pain.
Oh, okay.
"Oh, lass, you're going to want to wash that wound." And he actually sees some blood in your side. It's not like bad, but with some attention and a little bit of wrapping. But it's like, "Look, put some coin down for the care and we'll make sure to look after you. But you might need some looking after."
Perhaps
some
some-
looking after. I'm going to pick a freaking accent. You might need some looking after. I think that's where I was at yet.
Perhaps a place for us to wash up before we dine at your fine establishment, I say, glancing down at my hand-knitted socks.
"Let me see what I can arrange for you." And he sort of heads off and he hands you over to one of the caretakers of the inn who starts to, just explain their rates and blah, blah, blah. They have a cush room.
Okay, good.
And I'm going to say it's available. It's not all that busy. So you can grab it. It is, you get your cushy room. Catalina, you recognize the musician.
Okay.
You recognize Adolin, who traveled with you to Felmore almost a week ago. And he hasn't noticed you, but he's playing a lute in the corner of the room and just being the sort of the inn's music for the evening.
Catalina wants to get bandaged up first and
Yeah,
probably not look like crap. Because she does care about her appearance to some.
100%, yeah. It's all, you guys are all set up. Like, okay, they show you to your rooms. They actually have a few different private washrooms with some hot water. Seems like this town is pretty well set up. Even this outskirt inn is pretty well established. It's been running for a good long time. A lot of people who have grown up with this sort of inn. That the usual thing they expect is a little disrupted by this odd and dirty party, but no one actually seems to have that big of a problem, except for a few people in the corner of the room. You're shown to the washrooms and the inn, and you get settled in. And if you want, you can go enjoy your evening meal. Otherwise, you can go settle in your room for the night until the morning arrives. I'm going to get you to roll for that wound. Just make a survival check, challenge level 1. Really basic.
50-50.
Okay. You clean out the wound. It's very sore, but without too much trouble, and with the help of some of the ointments and stuff that they actually have on hand, you're pretty confident you're feeling a lot better and you're not going to get infected or anything, and you wrap up pretty well. So
Okay.
after a couple of hours of just sort of care and cleaning, you feel fit for whatever it is you want to do for the rest of the evening. Anyone else have anything in mind as far as what their intentions have been?
Have a dinner and a beer with some locals, and then go to bed. So, yeah, that's my
No
plan.
wild,
No, not
rambunctious.
tonight. I'm funnily enough, I'm very tired. But I did happen to spot a horseman, a messenger, bolt into town. Did anyone see? I say to whoever I end up near at the bar. Anyone see that? What's that all about?
This woman turns around and is like, messenger? They don't really come to this inn. If you're looking to send or receive a message, you'll want to move into one of the town ones.
Oh no, I just saw one bolt into town. Like there was death behind him.
You saw a messenger come into Iron. What a strange day, she sort of says, like,
You
jokingly.
did say that, right?
That's like sort of saying, I saw a train travel the tube while I was in London. Like, this is now you're entering Grayden territory.
Yeah.
They are the culture of messages and efficiency, and it's like, this is like where it really happens. So
I
that's
know
not uncommon.
I know it's normal, but is it normal for them to drive their horses to death?
Sometimes depends if they're a worthy messenger and horse or not.
All right.
Having been to this town before, do I have any idea of where they
You know,
would
there are
have gone?
several inns in a cluster in the center of town where messengers sent and received. Not all inns are part of the messaging system. The ones that are the more prestigious ones, and they're sort of like, you know, the king's inn sort of thing. Except for like outskirt towns where the inns are just where the messages go.
Okay, I'm going to pat Delvin on the shoulder and give you that information.
That's all right. I was passingly curious. But if no one's up for a chat, I say widely to the room, then I'm going to bed, I guess.
A few people look at you like, who'd want to chat with you? And a few people look at you like, I'd say a lady, maybe the one you spoke to, sort of looks like, chat or, you know, whatever.
I'll leave you to it then.
I'm going to say I socialize for an hour and then go to bed
Yeah.
regardless. I'm
Yeah.
a sleepy peepee.
Yep.
I would have just done whatever Medela wanted, so she probably. I'm
She's
assuming
yawning.
Would have
and
had.
like, she's starting to like drift as you're not traveling and stuff anymore. So
Yeah, so she, you know, if she went and washed up and then went to bed, I would have followed suit.
yeah. All right.
I'm also exhausted, but I do want to say hello to Adolin. Yeah, before I go to bed.
All right. You sort of linger, and it approaches sort of like that. At this point, it's like the evening. You know, by the time you guys have gotten settled and washed, and you come back in a presentable state, you still look a little disheveled, but for the most part, presentable.
Cool.
I'd say it's the equivalent of like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., and things are starting to quiet down a little bit because people have work the next day. This is just a common sort of day. And he's starting to ease up his tunes or whatever, but then he has the flicker of recognition and pauses his playing and says, Catalina, is that you?
Adolin, yes.
A surprise and a pleasure. My word, you were in Felmore, of course. I forget myself. How are you? What has happened? What have you seen? What have you learned?
How much do I trust him?
After having traveled with him, you know he has good intentions. He's sincere, but not connected or respected in the way a Thanisian woman like yourself is. But you like him, and he's sincere.
Okay, but he's not part of, like, he's not a,
He's just a Thanisian worker.
yeah.
He was just assigned to
guide.
you for protection and company.
Cool.
To sort of like as for your benefit, as far as like, you know, it gives you a regality and in these parts makes you look more respected. But otherwise, he's just like, he's a farmhand. And you know that his task from the Thanisian perspective is learn the folklore, learn the stories and write them down and
Yep.
send them back, you know. But otherwise, it's just
All
very
right.
straightforward.
I'll turn to him and say, pray forgive me. My travels have been harsh. I'm completely exhausted. How long do you intend to stay?
Stay? Oh. Well, prior to this, I was assigned in Geldavale, and after your journey and upon my return, I expect I should be placed here for another few weeks, but it seems uncertain at the moment. In fact, I've heard rumors of some of my compatriots who have been quickly reassigned elsewhere, so I don't expect that I'll be around here reliably.
How much do you know about what happened in Felmore?
Very little. Well, I know back home they're wanting to know as much as possible, so if you know anything, of course, it would be beneficial to share with that. And he's not assuming to share with him. He assumes you know to share with your betters.
I'm going to tell him a really abridged version of just saying that the King of Flames has been declared. He's gathering people that have these abilities, claiming it's magic, but kind of keep it discreet as well, being like, these are where I have been, but I don't tell them that we've found people that have these abilities or give any of those minor details out. But just kind of what everyone's already knows.
Roll perception.
Perception?
Yeah. I'm going to say...
Still with the minus, yeah, because I'm exhausted.
Not for the wound. Oh, no, but yeah, no, I'd say yes, still with the minus. Challenge level 2.
Yep.
2.
Just. You see a flicker of concern and like there's something he's worried about in regards to what you're talking about that he's trying not to show.
You seem upset.
Yes, only from what I've heard, people with such abilities have no control over them. It's not their fault, but it seems that there is a war of allegiance taking place where, through no fault of their own, people are being forced to make a choice. And some of those people might be very young. That's all he says. He sort of like shakes it away.
Okay.
You must be exhausted. Are you okay?
I am well, but I probably should go rest. Look, are you around tomorrow? Perhaps we can talk more.
Yes. In fact, tomorrow is my rest day. I had some plans, but I would love to catch up if you're willing. It would be amazing. And I mean, I wouldn't impose to learn of the things you have gathered, but anything you share, of course, would help my understanding and thriving, if possible, in these parts. I hope you're well, Catalina.
We'll speak tomorrow.
I hope so. He nods. And he continues to play. This time, a little softer.
Okay.
It's wind down music. And off you go to bed.
Cool.
Okay. Sleepy time. Time to go night-night, everyone. Delvin, do you want to roll to see how you sleep? Just roll one dice. Just see what happens. Just see how comfortable you are and how you sleep. Oh, good. Oh, good. Good. I'm glad.
Well comfy.
Good. Lovely.
It's a success on the comfort meter.
On the random comfort dice. Your mystery comfort vocation. You all sleep quite peacefully. In fact, quite deeply, and a very recovering sleep. And the next day, you wake up. Well, let's leave that till next session.
Yeah.
But, you have a lot of recovering to do, so who knows? We'll see. But that, I think, brings us to the end of Chapter 7. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you to our patrons. Wait, I haven't done the... Wait. There we go.
There they are.
Oh, no, error 404, patron not found.
Patron not found.
At least the
We
dark
got to
clock's
fix.
loaded.
Can we look into that? We got to.
Yeah.
Thought we refreshed it. Anyways, well, Professor X 1718. Good to see you again.
Tickle Duck's
So.
looking very shiny today.
Rainaya
Earth Angels Tarot.
And Nick.
and AJ Macy.
Thank you all so much for
Thanks,
joining.
everyone.
Chapter 7. What are you guys going to do in town? What are the
Get a bow.
plans?
Hide.
That's true.
Get
Yeah.
a bow.
Got a few. Yeah.
Find out where Beckett went.
I think I'll kill Jester.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're the worst.
Cool.
I don't know. What are we going to do? Continue our
Got a bit
mission.
of time to brew on it. We'll see.
Literally continue the mission that we've been paid to do so I can earn myself a brick.
Cool. Well, let's see how that plays out in the next chapter. But in the meantime, I hope you all enjoyed chapter 7, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.